I'm 78 years old. My name is Harold. 16 months ago, my wife Ruth died after 53 years of marriage. 2 weeks after her funeral, I found a box in her closet that made me understand I had not known her at all. Ruth and I met in 1969 at a hardware store in Columbus. I was working the register. She came in to buy a replacement hinge for her mother's screen door. I helped her find the right size. She came back the next week for a different hinge she didn't need. We started dating in October. We married in June 1971. I was 25, she was 23. Small ceremony at the courthouse. Her parents, my parents. A dinner afterward at a restaurant neither of us could really afford. By 1974, I had a steady job at a manufacturing plant. We bought a small house. Our son Daniel was born in 1975. Our daughter Patricia came in 1978. I worked day shifts, then night shifts when they paid better. Ruth raised the children, managed the house, handled the bills, scheduled the appointments. This continued for decades. I went to work, I came home, I ate dinner, I watched television, I went to bed. On weekends, I mowed the lawn, fixed things that broke, attended the events I was supposed to attend. Ruth and I rarely argued. We didn't raise our voices. We made decisions together about money and the children. We slept in the same bed every night for 53 years. People said we had a solid marriage. Here is what I believed. A good husband provides, stays faithful, and does not leave. If you do those three things, you have fulfilled your role. In 1991, Ruth's younger sister Joan was diagnosed with a terminal illness. She lived in Indiana, about 4 hours from us. Ruth wanted to visit her every other weekend until the end. I told her that was too much driving. I told her she could go once a month. I told her I needed her at home. Ruth went once a month. Joan died in April 1992. 3 days after the funeral, I came home from work at 6:15 p.m. Ruth was sitting at the kitchen table. The overhead light was off. The only light came from the window. The kitchen smelled like coffee that had been sitting in the pot for hours. Her hands were flat on the table. She was looking at the wall. I stood in the doorway. I asked if dinner was ready. She turned her head slowly and looked at me. Her face was still. She didn't say anything for several seconds. Then she said, "There's bread and cold cuts in the refrigerator." I made myself a sandwich. I ate it standing at the counter. She didn't move. I finished eating, rinsed my plate, and went to the living room to watch the news. She stayed at that table. I don't know how long, I didn't ask. Ruth and I continued for another 32 years after that evening. The children grew up. They moved away. We retired. We traveled to a few places. We ate breakfast and dinner together. We watched television in the same room. She stopped asking me questions about how I felt. I didn't notice when that happened. I didn't notice that our conversations had become only about logistics. What time is the appointment? Did you pay the electric bill? The car needs an oil change. In 2021, Ruth was diagnosed with cancer. She went through treatment for 2 years. I drove her to appointments. I sat in waiting rooms. I refilled her prescriptions. I brought her water when she was too tired to get up. She died on a Tuesday afternoon in September 2023. I was holding her hand. Her breathing slowed, then stopped. After the funeral, I began sorting through her belongings. In the back of her closet, I found a box I had never seen. Inside were letters, dozens of them. Letters she had written but never sent. Some were addressed to her sister Joan. Some were addressed to her mother, who died in 1988. Some were addressed to no one. One letter, dated March 2003, was addressed to me. In it, she wrote that she had felt alone for most of our marriage. She wrote that she had stopped trying to talk to me about anything that mattered because I never responded with interest. She wrote that she loved me, but did not feel known by me. She wrote that she had accepted this as her life. I read that letter 4 times, then I read the others. The pattern was the same. Year after year, she had been living beside me and feeling unseen. I had been in the same house, I had slept in the same bed, I had eaten at the same table, and I had not known that my wife was lonely. I am telling you this because I see the same thing happening around me. I see men who believe they are good husbands because they work hard, stay faithful, and do not leave. I see marriages that look stable from the outside. I see silence that gets mistaken for peace. If you have been married for many years, your wife may have stopped telling you what she feels. That does not mean she stopped feeling it. It may mean she stopped believing you would hear her. You may think your marriage is fine because there is no conflict. That is not proof of connection. That is proof of routine. If you are married, do these things. Tonight, sit with your wife without a screen in front of you. Ask her one question about something that is not logistical. Wait for the full answer. Ask a second question based on what she said. Tomorrow, notice one thing about her behavior that you would normally ignore. Mention it to her. Once this week, tell her something about your own internal state. Not a complaint about work, something about how you feel. If she seems surprised by any of this, that is information. I am 78. Ruth has been dead for 16 months. I have time remaining, but I do not know how much. I cannot reach her anymore. I cannot ask her the questions I never asked. I cannot sit with her at that table in 1991 and say something different. That time is closed to me. Yours may not be. If this account made you think of someone, tell them what you realized. Do not wait for a better moment.